Welcome to geometry. I'm recording this video ahead of time so that those who need to can watch it and not miss any instruction. So we're going to start first of all by going over some of the homework problems. Several students have emailed or texted me asking me to do some problems during class, so I thought I would do those now. I've also asked students, what are they doing to be most successful when they're working these problems? And many of them said drawing the arrows from the sides to the angles and the angles to the side has been most helpful. So when we look at the congruent sides, I draw our x. That means that this angle is going to be equal to this angle. So we know that this is also 76. We know that the three angles of a triangle, our magic number is 180. So I have 76 plus 76 plus x is equal to 180. And then we would solve. Now, some of the other questions are a little more simple. So when I draw the x's over here, it's going to be this angle and that angle. So there really is no work to be shown. Simply x is 54. And don't forget that when all your sides are equal, all your angles are also equal. So these are all equal to 60. So x would be 60. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward there. Other problems dealing with angle 2. So this 2 right here actually means angle 2. So if we were to draw our lines across, we know that these two angles would be congruent. So this is also angle 2. So we have two of them. So this is x plus 75. This is x plus 75. So to make our equation, we would have x plus 75 plus x plus 75 is equal plus 46 is equal to 180. And then we would solve. So let's look at number 8. So if this is angle 2, we draw our arrows. This would be angle 2. This would be angle 2. Okay. So we have two of those. Let's be a little bigger. I've got 6x minus 2 plus 6x minus 2 plus the 100 will be equal to 180. And then you would solve. So most students said after they got the equation set up, they were fine. And then on the back side, on the second page, they're actually a little bit easier. It's when you follow the angles across with the arrows or lines, it tells you which two sides will be congruent. So here we have the fact that x plus 3 will equal 9, and that's your equation. So you subtract 3 and you get x equals 6. So these are actually a little more simple. And some of these, like number 14, you know that these two sides are equal. So you simply have x equals 12. Yeah. But please remember just to jot down, you're not required to draw the triangles for these, but please jot down the equation that you used before you have your answer. That's what I ask as far as showing work. Okay. On number 23, let's set up a couple. For example, number 5, this one you will want to label. It's a lot easier. So TU, the distance between T and U is 10x. XU is -1 plus 6x. But we know that because dx is a median, that these two will be equal. So if this is negative 1 plus 6x, then this is also negative 1 plus 6x. And we know that this would now be our equation. So these two added together will equal 10x. So you go negative 1 plus 6x plus negative 1 plus 6x is equal to 10x. And then solve from there. So this half is this half equals the whole. That's a little different than when you are going to number 6. We still know that these two sides are equal. But when we label KC, we get 8x. And when we have KD, we have 9x minus 1. Well, if these two parts are equal, then that becomes our equation. So we have 8x is equal to 9x minus 1. And then we would solve. Some students who are just now kind of getting into the class and learning what we've been learning may not have all of the formulas, so I thought I would write this down. So find the measure of one interior angle, so that's an each. So this would be n minus 2 times 180 divided by n. That's one angle. And where n is equal to the number of sides. Find the measure of one exterior angle, so that would be, that equals 360 divided by n. And then find the interior sum for each polygon. That would be simply n minus 2 times 180. Or again, n is the number of sides. I still have students and parents asking me, what do I mean by showing work? They just don't understand that just because you turn it in doesn't mean you get full credit because you're not following directions. Okay. So showing work means labeling vertical angles and shared sides. First of all, that's not hard. Second, so one, vertical angles, shared sides. Mark. 2, label A's and S's, or H and L. Okay. So what that means is this is a side, that's an angle, that's a side. Even if you do it only on one triangle, just make sure that they match. So you have side equals side, done. Here you have a side, and a side. Side, side, side. You're done. The second part, for example, like number 15, here's a shared side. You have an angle, a side, and an angle. I have students that are randomly trying to make sides equal just to match the answers. So they were trying to say that these two sides are equal when we don't have any information about those two sides. And so like this one, so I'm going to put wrong. This is what you do not want to do. We're not going to mark these because those are not equal. No. But we do want to mark these. That's a yes. So we'll only mark the things that we can tell. And in this case, we have an angle, a side, and an angle. Number 19, knowing that this is a right angle, and then this would be a right angle. Those are vertical angles. And remember that when we have a right angle, we can look for an H and an L. So here's an H, and that would be an L. So this would be HL, and you're done. Okay, so looking at these, showing work looks like writing down two numbers, like 9 times 10. Well, 10 is 2 times 5. Square root of 9 is 3. We're left over 10. That's showing work. And for 23, we know that this part of this line segment plus this part is going to equal the whole part. So look at this plus that. So this would look like 2 plus -1 plus 6x is equal to -1 plus 7x. Excuse me. And then you would solve from there. Okay. For this angle, we would go mkj, which is 15x plus 5, lkm, and lkm is 14x minus 4, is equal to the whole thing, which is 146. That's lkj. And that becomes our equation. This angle plus that angle equals that angle. So 14x minus 4 plus 15x plus 5 is equal to 146. And then you would solve. That seemed to answer most of the questions that I've had from students. Now let's go ahead and talk about parallelograms. So notes, week of 10/19. Okay. So we're looking at properties of parallelograms. Now parallelograms has a symbol that looks like a little parallelogram. Properties of parallelograms. Okay, so think about that. It'd be like a rectangle or a slanted rectangle. So Monday's notes, we did cover a little bit of this, but we're going to cover a little more in depth. So you have certain properties, 5. So 1, you have 2 pairs of parallel sides. 2, you have 2 pairs of congruent sides. 3, opposite angles are congruent. 4, and we'll talk more about this with our picture. Same side interior angles are supplementary, which means they equal 180. And then the other thing that we know is that the diagonals bisect. I'll come back to that. Each other, which means they cut in 2 equal parts. Each one they cut in half. All right, so let's look at what that means. So we're going to draw a giant parallelogram. We'll label this A, B, C, D. Okay. So the first thing that we know is that we have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So AB is parallel to CD. AB is parallel to CD. And then BC is parallel to AB. And then congruent sides, we know that BC is congruent to AD, BC is congruent to AD, and then AB is congruent to CD. AB is congruent to CD. Okay. So that's 1 and 2. Opposite angles are congruent. We know that angle A is congruent to angle C. And we know that angle B is congruent to angle D. Okay, so number 4, I shall label these. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So angle number 4, same side interior angles are supplementary. So if you remember way back when we were talking about parallel lines, we had corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, and same side interior angles. Same side interior angles would be this angle and this angle. Okay. This angle and this angle. So what 4 looks like, and we did this on Monday, is the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B is equal to 180. The measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C is also equal to 180. The measure of angle C plus the measure of angle D is equal to 180. And then you guessed it, measure of angle A plus measure of angle D is equal to 180. Okay. And then last, for number 5, I'm actually going to draw a separate parallelogram. So it doesn't get too cluttered. So when diagonals bisect each other, it means that this part is congruent to this part, and this one is congruent to that one. Okay. So if I know that this is 5, let's say that 15, and this is 3x, I would say 3x is equal to 15, and then x is equal to 5, and you'd be done. Okay. So whatever this left part is, that right part is. And it's the same with the other diagonal. So that's number 5. Let's try a few examples. These problems are very similar to the ones that you'll be seeing in your worksheet. They're basically just regenerated problems. So the first example, given that these are parallelograms, we know that opposite sides are congruent. So this side, instead of an X, they have a question mark. So this side is 17.2, and you're done. Okay. We know from our properties of parallelograms that the opposite angles are going to be equal. So this angle would be 146. But be careful because they do mix these up on you. So these are not opposite. This one's 57. Only the opposite angles are congruent. But these two, angle M and angle M, have to equal 180. So we know that 57 plus x is equal to 180. If I subtract 57, x is equal to 123. And you're done. And again, like this one, these would be supplementary. And you have to equal 180. Okay. When we have opposite sides, You know that they're going to be congruent. So this would also be 20. And you can come back and look at the lesson again. But these are pretty straightforward. They weren't real hard. When you get to the diagonals, it can be a little more challenging. But I would encourage you to, on the diagonals, to draw them. Remember, this is not the exact worksheet, but these are similar problems. So if we look at CW, CW is 16, and we know that this part equals this part. And then UW, this whole thing, and this is 2x plus 32. Okay. Well, if this side is 16, that also makes this side 16. And then we can write our equation. So this becomes 16 plus 16 is equal to the whole thing of 2x plus 32. And then we would solve. 32 is equal to 2x plus 32. So when I subtract the 32 over here, I get 0 equals 2x. And dividing both sides by 2, I get 0 equals x. And it's okay because 0 is a number, not hard. Okay, let's do this one because this is a different one. Okay, so we know that BG is equal to VGX, and GU is equal to GW. So if we label these, GW is 11, and GU is 11x. So now our equation becomes 11 equals 11x. Now we solve. Dividing both sides by 11, 1 equals x. So this is much like the median because it split it down the middle. So some of these are going to be equal to each other, and some of them you're going to add it twice and equal to the whole. Okay. So you have two options. One is that they equal each other, or option 2 is one part plus the second part, which are going to be the same, is equal to the whole. Okay. Those are your only two options for that section. Now let's look at these types of problems. This is where, if you remember back to your parallel lines, we had corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, and same side interior angles. Okay. Well, the alternate interior angles is when it jumped over the transversal. Okay. So this would also be 54 degrees. Okay. So corresponding angles are equal or congruent. Alternate interior angles are equal or congruent, but the same side interior angles are supplementary. They have to equal 180. Now, here's a tricky one. So this one, remember that our consecutive angles, angle x plus angle y, they have to equal 180. Well, this whole thing right here is angle y. This is your variable called x, and this is 37. So we know that 79 plus x plus 37, because that's that whole angle, is going to equal 180. This is the one that usually will confuse students. So this whole angle, and it helps if you draw like a big circle around it, because it's both of those. and that one. Okay. So solving, we get 116 plus x is equal to 180. And subtracting the 116, x is equal to 64. So let's try one more of those. Actually, I don't have one more of those. Okay, and then let's try, let's do an example from the bookwork that you have. So going back to this, so here's an example. And this time they give us diagonals. And they label it for us. So this side's congruent to this one. This is congruent to that one. They tell us it's a parallelogram. This is 30, 75, 60, y, x, and then this is b, that segment. This is a, this is 8, this is 10. Now, there's a lot going on right there, but let's break it down into pieces. So if we look at the segments first, for this one. So we've got this side has to equal this side. With the book problems, they usually use the A, B's, and C's on the inside and the X, Y's, and Z's on the for angles. So you know that A is equal to 8. Okay, and then the other diagonal, you know, this one is equal to that one. You know, B equals 10. Okay. And if it helps, you can actually separate these into the diagonals and the angles. So let's do that. You can go a bit smaller, just so you can see. We do notice, however, that this angle of 30 and this angle X happen to be alternate interior angles because they cross over. So now that X is equal to 30 degrees. Now solving for Y, I've got different angles going on. I've got 30, 75, 60, and Y. But don't forget, it's this angle plus this angle that equals 180. Okay. So I'm going to go 105 plus 60 plus Y is equal to 180. So when I combine my terms, you get 165 plus Y equals 180. And then subtracting 165 on both sides, you get Y equals 15. Okay. And those are the only properties of our parallelograms that we'll be covering today. I think everybody should be done writing by now. Let me flip it over. And in case you missed the class on Monday, here's some information, and I'll probably put it in the homepage too. But Mondays, I know they're required, but not everybody has been showing up. But from now on, there will be, even though they're still required, there will be extra credit. But don't forget, it's an easy extra credit, points because it's required. You should be there anyway. This is to reward the students who are there and to motivate the ones that should be there and aren't. And second, starting this week, if your video is on, then that will be extra credit. Okay. That will be extra credit. This is still a passable class if you haven't turned any assignments, or if you're turning in assignments and getting zeros because you need to show work. You know what showing work is. I've just explained it to you. And if your parents are confused, please show them the beginning of the video where I explain exactly what I'm looking for. Let's see. It's made me very happy to have students emailing and texting me, questions. So keep it coming. The end of the grading period is October 30th. There is a dead week that week to help students get caught up, which means there won't be any new content, but I will be able to do review and intervention. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And either way, we're done with today's lesson. Thank you very much.